You know, 5 years ago, I would have gone after it myself. I'm really rather envious.
Gotta locate Abner. I think I know where to start. So she'll still be with him?
Possibly. Marion's the least of your worries right now, believe me, Indy.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean that for nearly 3,000 years, man has been searching for the lost ark. Not something to be taken lightly. No one knows its secrets. It's like nothing you've ever gone after before.
100 for 100. The podcast where we take 100 films. I've taken 100 films, painstakingly laid them all out for you. New movie watchers, old movie watchers, all movie watchers, as not a Bible, not a film guide, just 100 carefully, expertly curated films that I think every movie watcher should watch at least once in their career. Got a nice little bit of blend in there. Got some westerns, got some action, got some adventure, got some sci-fi, some fantasy, some horror. Sprinkled in some musicals there for you. All right? We got some animated joints in there. Some superhero movies. We got a little bit of everything for you. And it all comes to this. It all comes down to number one. But before we get there, as is tradition, each one of these gets a 100-word review, which is how you get the title for this here podcast, 100 for 100. And each movie gets its own podcast, released one a day for the first 100 days of the year. Yes, yesterday we talked about a Spielberg joint. Number 2, Jurassic Park. When you want to talk about that Spielberg magic, I think you're talking about Jurassic Park. Fine performances from Sam Neill, from Laura Dern, from Goldblum, from Richard Attenborough, from Samuel L. Jackson, from whatever Dennis Nedry's name is. There's no weak people in that cast, by the way. Even that skeezy lawyer who was in there too long is great in his role. Even that dumb kid at the beginning when they're digging, that Dr. Grant has to break down with the Velociraptor claw. Anyways, what's that kid up to now? We talked about all that yesterday. Number 1. This is it. This is the last episode of 100 for 100. We're down to the very final episode. And we're sticking with Spielberg, man. We're sticking with 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark. Let's get into this 100-word review, shall we? To close this bad boy out. To me, this is as close as one gets to a perfect film. Harrison Ford embodies the role of adventurer archaeologist Henry Jones Jr. and plays him with such an affable everyman charm. It's impossible not to buy in. Harkening back to the serials of the 1950s, Spielberg pays homage to the stories and tropes he grew up watching. Karen Allen gives an incredible turn as Marion Ravenwood, and the film is never better when she shares the screen with Harrison Ford as they bicker and argue their way around the world in search of one of film's greatest MacGuffins. When it comes to MacGuffins, there's like 3 that come to mind. The Infinity Stones from the MCU, the Falcon from the Maltese Falcon, the Ark of the Covenant from Raiders of the Lost Ark. This movie is set up perfectly. It gives you everything you want to know about Indiana Jones from the beginning, from when you see him in the jungle, from the Paramount logo fading into, what is it? They do something different each time. I think it's a mountain in the first one, and there was a molehill in the fourth one. Do they make a mountain out of a molehill? Anyways, ignore that. That was stupid. You see he's an overly cautious man. He's got Alfred Molina with him as his guide, right? Doc Ock. And you see he's overly cautious. He's very thorough in his research. He knows that there's going to be booby traps in this place to get this idol that he's going for. He lets you know what kind of man he is. You know, he's a treasure hunter for the most part. That whole bit of business goes down. You know, throw me the idol, throw me the whip. The giant ball that rolls after him. I don't know who's making these elaborate setups, by the way. That's what I always wonder. Like, you put way too much thought into this to protect this golden idol. But being chased by the local populace with the spears and the blow darts and whatnot, and Reggie having to start the plane before it gets there, the snake in the back sets up his fear of snakes, which comes on later on in the movie. This tells you everything you need to know about him in that first opening bit of action. It draws the viewer in, and it really gets the ball rolling from there. And then after that, you see he's just a mild-mannered teacher, an archaeologist. So you see the different facets of him. You see his adventurous facet. You see his educated side. And then you get to see some of that romantic side when he comes up against Marion Ravenwood after he's been dispatched by the army to beat Hitler to the race of achieving this mystical artifact. And he doesn't even believe it's real. It exists, but still, you gotta go after it. You gotta go after it, right? And that's exactly what they do. Marcus Brody talks the army into letting him do it, and he's off to the races. So you got him versus the Germans trying to get this thing, because if the Germans lay their hands on this, it's a whole different kind of World War II we're on. And it's the globe trotting around the world and the adventures he gets into and the scrapes and the trope of the uniform not quite fitting right and all this kind of good stuff. It's the fact that he's making all this shit up as he goes along is one of my favorite things that Indiana Jones does. He's like, this is the resources I have to deal with. This is what we got to do. The fact that he's got friends all over the world like Sala and all that stuff. The rival archaeologist, Belloc, in there as well. I am just a shadowy reflection of you. There's nothing that you can take out of this movie. Because if you do, then it's like a stack of Jenga. That's what this film is. It's a stack of Jenga that's been played for at least 15 turns. And you pull out any piece of that, the whole thing is going to come tumbling down. You need Belloc to show what Indiana Jones could be, and also to show you what he is. He's willing to go to some lengths. He's not willing to go to those lengths. The relationship between him and Marion Ravenwood, a little bit creepy. Not gonna lie to you, that age gap there, a little bit strange. But he does right by Marion. You get that whole bait and switch with the baskets, right? And you think that she's blown up. You get the whole business with the monkey. There's so much going on in this movie, especially the big third act chase scene where he's leveling up through all the cars and the trucks, trying to get to the one in front. This the one that's got Marion, if I remember correctly, and he's all doing the crazy stunts where he's sliding underneath the truck and all that kind of stuff. Man, I didn't think stunts like that were possible, but here we go. You see that because Spielberg knows how to. George Lucas and Steven Spielberg crafted this story together. And there's one thing that we can all think about George Lucas is that he's not a great director, but he is a great storyteller. He knows a good story. So when you combine one of the great storytellers of our time, the motherfucker gave us Star Wars, with one of the greatest living directors of our time, what do you expect to get other than one of the greatest films of all time? Is the easiest way to put it out. And that's it, man. That has been 100 movies. I'm not going to recap this list. But it's been 100 movies that hopefully you've enjoyed this journey. You've enjoyed at least listening to the first 100 days. I mean, the first 100 days of this year has been pretty shitty, honestly. We all know that. But hopefully this has helped take your mind off of things in little 5, 6, 7 minute nuggets at a time. That's it for the 100 for 100. Stay tuned when we might do something like this again towards the end of the year. Might not. I don't know. A couple things are in the works. I don't want to tease anything just yet, but we might do something else like this later on in the fall for you. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on how I feel. This took its toll on me, so I got to recover for a little bit. We'll see how this whole thing goes. Until then, you guys take it easy. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and enjoy these movies for you.